It has been quite a while since I last made my girlfriend play a racing game. So long, in fact, that she has since then joined a driving school and is almost done with getting her license. She's still in the middle of taking her driving lessons ahead of her exam, so I figured now would be the perfect time to introduce her to a new game. After all, it's been proven that playing video games regularly can genuinely improve your cognitive skills and reaction times. I'd imagine the same is probably true for racing games, doubly so even if you're playing simulators, which accurately replicate real-life driving. With enough time and experience, you could probably get a much better feel for how a car behaves, which might even save you in emergency situations, while also making you a better driver overall. So with that in mind, I looked over my racing game collection to decide which one would help her out the most. Should I give her something like BeamNG or Assetto Corsa for their realistic driving physics? Or perhaps even something like Euro Truck Simulator for how well it represents traffic code? There's an overabundance of good picks here, but in the end I went for something a little more unusual. That is to say, it might seem like a bad idea at first, as on the surface it doesn't appear to teach any lessons about good anticipatory driving, but I'm sure my girlfriend is observant enough to take nothing but good advice from it. The game in question is Burnout 3 Takedown. Now, I know what some of you might already be typing into the comments. Why are you having her play Burnout 3 if you want to improve her driving? It's a game all about crashes and chaos. What is wrong with you? And to that I say, trust the process. You clearly don't understand the true message behind these games. The Burnout games are a masterstroke of genius for how they appear to be all about causing as much havoc as possible on the surface, yet deep down actually teach you valuable lessons about day-to-day driving.
Okay, Garmin! Video speichern!
So I sat her down and passed the controller off to her. While watching the opening video, I asked her if she had any prior experience with the series or knew anything about it.
Ich weiß halt nur, Autos kaputt fahren, Menschen töten.
Nein, du fährst sicher und vorausschauend.
Before we can get started, we had to create a profile.
Gibt's einen Doppelpunkt?
Ja. Nice.
Thankfully, Burnout 3 is fairly straightforward. There isn't really any story or cutscenes, no mandatory intro races, nothing that really stops you from immediately getting into your first race. The general simplicity is the main reason why I went for Burnout 3 in particular. Previous entries in the series didn't have the takedown mechanic yet, and were generally a bit more on the difficult side, whereas later entries began to mix things up with new mechanics and open worlds. Knowing my girlfriend, she gets very overwhelmed very easily. So I figured Burnout 3 would probably be the best entry point for her, with a straightforward campaign, easy to understand menus, and rather simple moment-to-moment gameplay. Well, and for one other reason, but we'll get to that. After not even hesitating to pick the red car, we first had to watch the tutorial together. And this is where she could already take away plenty of things to improve her driving. The tutorial mainly teaches us about the basic mechanics of the game, mainly how to earn boost and how to maneuver the car in a crash. Boost is mainly earned in two ways: driving dangerously and wrecking other drivers. But many people seem to misunderstand this as poor or reckless driving, that the game incentivizes being a jackass on the road, when this could not be further from the truth. I mean, the tutorial literally begins with the words, "Rules of the road." Clearly, they were trying to teach people the basics of driving here. So okay, let's get through this one by one. Burnout 3 has a boost mechanic, which rapidly accelerates you when pressing a button. And why would you want to boost? Because you have opponents that will recklessly crash into you and try to take you out, which is very true to real life, especially with all the BMW drivers on the road. And so you want to boost to make sure you stay in first place and as far away from them as possible. You're only winning in this game if you're far ahead, and staying ahead is important, so earning more boost is always a good thing. But isn't the act of earning boost considered poor driving, you may ask? Not really. Get this, the game tells you to narrowly pass by other traffic cars on the road in order to get boost. Narrowly passing by other cars allows you to leave more space on the other side of the road, which allows bigger SUVs and poor drivers that can't stay in their lane to pass you more safely. Driving in the oncoming lane is also recommended here, as there might be times where it's safer to drive there, like if you have two drivers participating in road rage in front of you, or if the oncoming lane is simply more empty than the main one. Next it tells you about drifting, which can be an absolute lifesaver if you're driving a car that's prone to understeering. Tailgating is also very important. In fact, this is something people often misunderstand as poor driving from particularly Audi drivers. Staying close behind other drivers allows you to see each other more easily through the rearview mirror, which allows you to communicate. Not convinced yet? I mean, the game literally tells you, verbatim, to avoid crashes on the road. Next up, the tutorial teaches you various ways to interact with your opponents by slamming your car into theirs. Now, this might seem contradictory to what we've learned before, but consider this. These are drivers that are already aggroed. They will participate in road rage, no matter what. The moment they woke up, got into their car, and drove onto the road, they already decided to ruin everyone's day today. So in that sense, by making sure they're put out of commission through wrecking their car, you're preventing them from further endangering others on the road. Taking down opponents is a preventative measure to make sure they aren't causing more chaos than they already have, and keeping the roads safe. The final lesson the game teaches us is aftertouch, which allows us to move around the car while in a crash. This is primarily used to stop other reckless drivers in their tracks, should we fail to take them out before crashing out ourselves. And that wraps up this lengthy tutorial on Burnout 3. I hope I could finally educate some of the true values this game was trying to teach us all along. Hence why I decided to pick Burnout of all series for my girlfriend to try out ahead of her driving exam, as I'm sure she'll take away many valuable lessons and techniques to show off to her driving instructor. But to finally get back on topic, this tutorial always seemed a bit too lengthy for me. It condenses a lot of information at once, and I wanted to know from June how much she was actually able to remember from everything we've just seen.
Okay, ernste Frage, wie viel hast du dir gerade davon gemerkt? Oder merken können?
Ich war abgelenkt.
Wovon?
That's kinda gay. That's kinda gay.
Boah.
Well, in any case, it's finally about time to begin our first race. It was quite funny to see her trying to use the triggers for gas and brakes right away, as that's how the previous racing games I showed her worked. With Burnout 3 being a PlayStation 2 title from 2004, the more common control scheme for racing games still had both of these on the face buttons. It's definitely weird switching back and forth between them while playing through various different racing games from different console generations. And I'll admit that it definitely still happens to me as well from time to time. Now you might wonder, with how little experience my girlfriend has with both racing games and real-life driving, how long it took her to crash the car.
Yo!
18 seconds is the answer. If she could at least drive her car in real life for 20, I'd take that as a win. As she made her way through the first few corners, it was pretty interesting to observe the same thing I was able to observe in my other videos as well. She went really hard on the brakes, which is obviously understandable given that she has not just never played a Burnout game before, but also any racing game with a brake-to-drift handling style. While the tutorial teaches you to drift, it doesn't exactly state that it's something you can and should do all the time, as drifting around corners is actually much faster than braking properly. To be fair to her, I also told her absolutely nothing about the game and where it falls on the dreaded arcade simulator scale. So for all she knew, this game could have had the same kind of handling as the previous games she's played. Either way, she had a lot of catching up to do now, which would only be possible with using the boost I noticed she hasn't been using yet, so I kindly reminded her about it. And within a few seconds, she managed to catch up to the pack again, where she managed to pull off her first takedown. Yippee indeed. The first race takes place on Silver Lake, which for the most part is a pretty simple track. However, the lack of a minimap in this game did make navigation appear a bit more challenging to beginners, it seems. Even though most corners are wide and easily visible thanks to the track barriers pointing in the exact direction you'll need to turn into, occasionally you might run into a few blind spots on the map where, without prior track knowledge or sheer luck, you're almost guaranteed to crash. As she was nearing the end of the final lap and a text appeared on the screen letting us know she's still 8 seconds behind first place, I was pretty sure we'd have to settle for second place. But did we?
Warte. Holy shit.
Talk about clutching it on your first attempt. Nice job. From here we jumped straight into the next event, this one being a time trial, also referred to as a burning lap. From my memory, the target times were actually quite strict, with one crash already putting you out of pace for a gold medal. But let's see how she does. Okay, that one was impossible to see, even I would be annoyed. Seriously, I think the game really had it out for her this time.
Alles unter Kontrolle.
Despite a few minor traffic incidents, she still managed to snatch a silver medal. Not too bad, given it's still just her second race, and first time trying out a racing game with the coveted brake-to-drift handling model, which she already got the hang of quite nicely at this point.
Das macht schon irgendwie Spaß.
Ja, ne?
Somehow she felt compelled to try her hands at another time trial, this one being a preview lap, which gives you early access to faster cars available later on in the game. Truthfully, I didn't have high hopes for this one, as these tend to be the hardest events in the entire game. This one gives us access to a car from the sports category, and she noticed something on it that I never really noticed before. She concluded that the car might be Korean, as there is Korean lettering on the front of the car. In hindsight, I wonder what this says. Could this perhaps be a secret message from the developers? A phrase that could lead us down a rabbit hole of mysteries. One that tells us more about the development history of the game and the minds of the people who created it. With the wonders of modern technology, we can finally translate this secret phrase that has been hidden under our noses for the last 2 decades. What were the developers trying to tell us? It's finally time to find out once and for all. Oh, okay, got it. Anyway, during the next race she told me that she's really digging the soundtrack. This was hardly a surprise to me, as it mainly consists of varying mid-2000s rock music, one of her favorite genres. In general, you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone who doesn't appreciate the soundtrack of this game. It just fits the game so perfectly, and most, if not all of the songs in the list are genuinely great and hold up incredibly well even today. And that's without her even knowing that there's still one major surprise in the soundtrack in store for her. We're still getting to that clip, I promise. Anyhow, she was struggling a bit with the faster car and tricky track layout, so we had to walk away with a bronze medal this time around. So what better time to let off some steam than with a Road Rage event? And Road Rage really is the name of the game here, as it hardly took a few seconds for her to feel the rage.
So Minutenkinder.
Was haben die gemacht? Existieren.
Auf meiner Straße.
Ja, das ist so.
Now if only she could concentrate her rage on the opponents, and not the poor cab drivers trying to make a livable wage to support their struggling families. Despite taking herself out more often than any of the opponents, she still managed to grab a gold medal at the end of it all. Truly a natural road rager she is. Anyway, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. Roll the clip. Next up, we jumped into a face-off, a duel where we can win the car of the opponent. Thankfully, you can trash their car just fine, as it'll be in pristine condition once we get it. After snatching ourselves a new ride, we got an invitation to an event in the Far East, where she got to try her hands at the final car category in the game, the Superclass. Tracks in the Far East are also quite a bit more difficult than in any of the other continents, with more blind corners and traffic on the other side of the road. The new area and significantly faster car prompted her to be a bit more conservative with the boost. So although she managed to get a clean run... Okay, almost clean run, we didn't get a medal this time around. But none of that mattered for now, as she finally unlocked the first Grand Prix, which will unlock the next car class and a whole bunch of new events if she manages to beat it. These are points-based tournaments, so she doesn't need to come in first so long as she gets more points than the others. In the first race, she was actually doing quite well. So well in fact that she was well ahead for most of it, getting surprised when near the end another opponent caught up to her.
Wo kommt der bitte her? Was?
To be fair, all games I made her play had rubber band, though Burnout's implementation of it is definitely the most obvious one between the three. And honestly, Burnout's is the one where it makes sense, as it actually instigates car combat more often. The game would easily be way more boring without it, so in this one instance, I actually appreciate the rubber band effect, even if it can lead to some pretty unfair losses. Not that it mattered though, as she was doing pretty well throughout all the races so far.
Auto, hau ab! Ah!
Except for that one time where she interrupted DJ Striker.
And the views for you here on Crash FM.
Was hin? Unterbrochen.
Das wollte ich nicht!
How rude. And then she did it again!
A series of races, points for places.
Du lässt ihn nicht mehr ausreden.
Ich geb zu, ich will ihn einfach nicht mehr reden hören.
In any case, she wrapped up her first Grand Prix with 3 consecutive wins, unlocking the muscle car class along with 4 brand new vehicles. However, it dawned on me that we've been busy for about an hour now, and she still hasn't tried any of the dedicated crash events. Out of fear for her missing out on these entirely, I urged her to take a look at the strange $sign icon on the map. She was surprised to find out these represent more events, as she initially thought this was a place to buy stuff. After a brief crash course for how the mode works, she was let loose on her first crash junction, which she absolutely demolished on her first attempt.
Dein Fahrlehrer sollte Angst haben.
Ich glaube, das hat er schon.
Next, we took a short trip over to Europe, where she attempted yet another time trial, and with some more experience now under her belt, she might actually have a shot at sniping a gold medal this time around.
Das war wirklich knapp.
Seriously, I have no idea how she keeps cutting these so close. And then she did it again!
Nein, 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 nein. Ah! Ah! Ah!
Ach du Scheiße.
Das war knapp.
Das war richtig knapp.
I really wish we could have seen some race times here, because this must have been within a 100th of a second. Going back to the crash events, I noticed that she hasn't been using impact time, which would allow her to slightly nudge her car in other directions while mid-air or in a crash. Since this would become fairly relevant during this next junction with a ramp leading up to it, I reminded her of how to use it.
Aber denk dran, dass du so R1 gedrückt halten kannst und dann kannst du so...
Ja. Entschuldigung. Ja. Ja, schon.
Da kommt der Rage durch. Ich hab's gesagt.
While watching her play, I was reminded that Burnout 3 also has a bunch of multiplayer modes. Growing up as an only child, I actually never experienced any of these. So I asked her if she wanted to take a small break from the main career mode to try out some of the unique multiplayer events. I've never seen or heard anyone talk about these, so this was going to be my very first exposure to these as well. New grounds for both of us, you could say. After connecting a second controller, we jumped into a standard race to get our feet wet. For reference, my girlfriend's gameplay is on the bottom half, and I'm on top. For once. The first major difference we noticed was the lack of slow motion, both when executing takedowns and crashing out, which was going to make after-touch takedowns significantly more difficult to pull off. Also, for whatever reason, the music was completely disabled. I'm still not sure if this was simply a bug, or the music is actually simply turned off when playing in split screen. If it was intentional, it might either be for technical reasons, as there might be too many sounds overlapping with two players, or perhaps a conscious design decision to leave more room for chatting between all players. Feel free to let me know your take on this in the comments. Over the course of the race, a large gap built up between us, and it was interesting to see the remaining AI drivers adapt to this. Instead of all of them chasing down the leader, it felt more like they split up into two groups, each trying to stay close to the players. So 2 AI drivers were chasing me down as I ran away with the lead, while 2 other AI drivers fell behind a bit to give my girlfriend a chance to take them down for boosts and catch up. It's honestly a really clever way to handle 2 players with different skill levels, and ensures that neither of them grows bored or feels like they've fallen behind too much. Next, we tried our hands at a road rage event together. Double the players, double the chaos, right? And what a better way to kick it off than with me pulling off an after-touch takedown on my girlfriend.
Warum zählt deiner und nicht meiner?
Weil ich dich mitgerissen habe. Ich habe dich mitgerissen, das erzählt das für mich.
As you can imagine, the player with the most takedowns wins. However, this time there's no time limit restricting how long the event is running for. Instead, players are simply eliminated when their cars get totaled, turning split-screen road rage more into a survival-type event than its single-player counterpart. I can definitely say that road rage is probably one of, if not the most fun event type to do in split-screen. The added chaos with 2 players and AI drivers constantly swarming around both of them adds so much more action to the race. If a player takes out other cars in front, the player behind needs to avoid all of the oncoming wrecks, which adds a completely new layer to the event.
Boah, heilige Scheiße. Das Ding ist, du richtest so viel Damage an, vor allem ich muss die ganzen Autos umgehen, die du da irgendwie auf der Straße liegen lässt, ey.
And would you look at that? My recklessness got me totaled way sooner than my girlfriend, while having scored less takedowns than her, scoring her the win.
Damn!
Bitch.
Wieso, du fährst besser als ich?
Das ist dafür, dass du mich am Anfang gerammt hast.
The remaining 3 events were completely new to me, as none of them show up in the single-player campaign. The first of the 3 is called Team Crush, and is essentially a co-op crash mode. How it works is that each player first picks a car, which are then lined up next to each other. Both are then let loose at the same time to hit the crash junction.
Okay.
Ich hab verschissen.
Well, so long as both players get to it, of course. Adding another player into the mix really shakes things up a surprising amount. Usually in single player, many crash events require you to dodge cars and smaller intersections in order to get to the one where the most traffic is. But with an extra player, there's no need to dodge these anymore, as long as one player can reach the main intersection and another one any smaller ones in front of it. Another interesting change is that more markers have been added to the map. There's 1 boost marker for each player, but also 2 multiplayers each now, including the heartbreakers that both players need to be avoiding. Only the cash markers haven't changed, with only 1 of each kind being spread across the road. At first, it sounds like it would make things a whole lot easier, right? Yet coincidentally, it actually complicates things more than you think. When the damage gets tallied up, it adds the damages each player caused together, with markers being added at the end just like in single player. However, if both players collected different multipliers, in our case a 4x and a 2x each, they cancel each other out. the multiplayer also gets cancelled if only one player collects them, so both players need to get the same one if they want it to count. And if it's a heartbreaker, it doesn't matter if only one player got it, it always counts. How very fair. While it's easier to create more havoc with another player, it also makes things more difficult as both need to coordinate where to catapult their cars towards in order to collect the same multiplayer. Overall, I think this makes Team Crush way harder than its single-player counterpart. The crash mode can be pretty unpredictable as is, and adding another player into the mix just makes it even more chaotic. Expecting even more precision from 2 players makes the game mode seem way more punishing than necessary at that point. So we quickly moved on to the next one, called Double Impact. This one's another variant of the crash mode, but in PvP this time, where the player who can cause the most amount of damage wins. Markers have not been doubled for this mode. There is, however, a new marker on the road, one which I have not seen before as it does not exist in single player. It's called the Stealer, and it does exactly what you think it does. If you happen to run into it, there's no on-screen notification once you collect it, and it is kept secret until all the damages have been tallied up. If someone has collected the Stealer, it simply swaps the scores from both players around, making the player with the lower score actually win the round.
Stealer?
Nutte!
Between Double Impact and Team Crush, this PvP variant is easily my favorite between the two. While it can be pretty lopsided towards whichever player has the faster car and can reach the multiplayer faster, the Stealer does add a layer of mind games to the mix. Do you go for the multiplier but risk losing if the player gets the Stealer? Or do you try to go for the Stealer yourself but risk the other player causing less damage than you, handing them the win? It's basically the Uno of racing games, and I would highly recommend anyone to try it out with a friend. Last in the list of multiplayer modes is Party Crash, this one allowing for more than 2 players. It's a pretty straightforward tournament-style variation of the Crash mode, with players taking turns on the same event to chase the highest score. Interestingly, it can either be played solo or in co-op with groups of 2. The existing rules of Team Crush still apply here though, where both players need to collect the same markers for them to count. But it's a clever way to make it possible for more people to join in on the game, even if there are more players than controllers available. Either way, this concludes our excursion into the multiplayer game modes of Burnout 3. Adding another player into the mix definitely ramps up the chaos to 11, with the races and road rage in particular being surprisingly more strategic than in single player. The crash mode definitely works better in PvP than in co-op though, but can make for a genuinely great party game, especially for people not well versed in racing games. With that, I let my girlfriend explore the campaign for just a little longer, where she hit a handful more crash junctions in Europe. Since she's just unlocked the muscle car class, the races definitely also ramped up a good bit in intensity, with faster cars and harder opponents. Something that definitely did not get to my girlfriend, who always remained calm and collected.
Nutte!
Kommt da der Rage durch?
Ja. Wo kommt dieses scheiß Auto her? Mann!
Well, if the traffic didn't already get her mad, the radio DJ interrupting her favorite song definitely got her the rest of the way there.
Junge, nein!
Anyway, before my controller gets to meet the nearest wall and I get beaten to a pulp as collateral damage, we decided to call it here. Jokes aside, watching her play Burnout really confirmed my suspicion that this series is a great starting point for anyone who wants to get into racing games. She picked up on the handling way faster this time around compared to Need for Speed and Forza, and at times generally played very well. The crash mode being its own separate thing also helps a lot because it doesn't require as much driving skill and can be enjoyed entirely on its own merit. It's a game that simply makes you feel like a menace on the road, no matter the prior skill level, and it's something that I'll always appreciate about Burnout. For my girlfriend, she would put it right in between Horizon and Most Wanted as far as her own personal enjoyment goes. Though she did like all three of these games, so you can put your pitchforks back in the comments please. Thank you. But what about her own driving? As I proposed earlier in the video, I believe playing Burnout can make you a better and safer driver in the real world. And since we recorded our play session together, she actually managed to pass her driving exam. And so, let's hear from the lady herself how much her time with Burnout has helped her in becoming a certified driver. So it has been a while since I have made you play Burnout. And since then, you've actually managed to get your driver's license. Congratulations. Now, would you say that through me having you play the game, would you agree that the only reason why you got your driver's license is because I made you play the game? Okay, would you maybe agree that playing the game made you a better driver at least? I mean, it taught you a lot about safety and how to behave well in... No? Hey, where are you going? Ow!